Been a little bit of an off season, but we are back. One more person in Williams' household, but
That's right.
but he was able to make some time just for us. Just for
That's
us.
right.
First off,
baby.
congrats.
Yeah.
You're now a father of 16.
Yep, a father of 34. We're trying to build a football program over here. We're getting closer to getting that UH. 3 kids, 2 daughters, 1 son. It's intense over here. It's intense. But, we get after it, and football's king. So, what they say, God, family, and football. And, family's been put to the side. For research purposes, I need someone to help me out. I don't know how these kids just keep showing up at this house. And I don't know what's happening, don't know what's going on, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. So if anybody's got any suggestions, y'all let me know, but I have no idea what the heck is going on.
Hey, but let's just say you had a Hall of Fame baseball average today with putting hair ties on your daughter.
All right. I don't think people realize, if you've never had a sister or a daughter, how impossible putting hair ties in girls' hairs are. It is it's impossible. It's impossible. 1 for 3 is my best day. 1 for 3 is my best day. I'll tell you that much. And that was 1 try. But it's Hall of Fame numbers.
Hey,
you're right.
333 average, that gets you in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
That does. I'm going to I was about to say Canton. Wow. I'm going to Cooperstown, baby. Another C word.
Maybe you'll go to Canton one day as well.
Yeah.
But it's been a couple weeks. We had to take a little bit of break off season, had to reset ourselves a little bit. We're back with way more content here. Speaking of new content, dropped an article today about Stanford's new football coach because Troy Taylor was fired by the general manager, believed to be the first general manager to ever fire a coach in college football.
Yeah, I have a question about that. So this is Andrew Luck. Did he still have to go to the board of trustees, do you think? Or do you think the board of trustees gave him the ability to fire like this? Because he's also the one who announced it.
Yeah. And the weird thing is he was just hired like 4 months ago. He was hired in November of 2024. So basically at the end of their season, everybody thought it was a great move bringing Andrew Luck back. And I agree. It's one of
genius.
He's incredibly smart. He's one of the best Stanford quarterbacks of all time. I mean, he's up there probably in the top 2. With John Elway.
Quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah. One of the best college football quarterbacks of all time. I mean, if he had a longer career, he probably would have been one of the greats in the NFL, but injuries really derailed it.
Yeah.
And it made sense to bring him back, and firing Troy Taylor was certainly interesting. Now, ESPN dropped an article about a week ago, which kind of flew under the radar, honestly. It really didn't make a lot of headlines, and maybe because it's Stanford and it isn't, a big thing. And March Madness was starting up, and
it's Pac-12 after dark. They didn't report it until after dark.
Exactly, but it flew under the radar of people that weren't looking at it. We're not going to do a full recap, but basically it has to do with bullying staffers at Stanford.
Yeah, allegedly you shouldn't threaten to fire the compliance person.
Probably a good idea to not do that.
Allegedly,
I would not recommend. But it puts us in a weird spot where all of a sudden Stanford is hiring a new coach on March 25th. With spring ball expected to start on April 1, they have not announced an interim head coach. As you'd expect, you probably have one at least for spring ball to get you through spring ball.
Do you think they'll air the spring game now?
Do you think they play a spring game?
Yeah, I wonder if they're worried about getting their players poached.
I mean, I don't know who there is to poach. Stanford wasn't that good last year. Stanford,
the best player is leaving. Eric Altemeyer or whatever his last name was.
Yeah, I think they only went 3-9 last year, so it's not like Stanford.
A strong 3-9 though. They almost beat a couple good teams.
Yeah, Stanford. I mean, they looked better than they did the year prior, but still, yeah, Stanford went a total of 3-9, and it wasn't pretty last year.
Who would you replace him with? Why is it David Shaw?
Why is it David Shaw? Yeah, let's just bring David Shaw back. I mean, everybody else keeps bringing back their old coaches, so why not? Just bring back David Shaw. See if Jim Harbaugh's available while you're doing it as well. I mean, I hear he's probably free right now. He's not doing much. If I was to pick somebody, and it might not be the most popular hire, if you're going to hire somebody, if you're going to go full on hire somebody, I mean, I think you look for a short-term guy. I don't think You either look for the long-term replacement that of like, hey, this is going to be our guy for the next 10 or 15 years, or you're looking for a 2 to 3 year stopgap. Kind of like a Mac Brown was clearly not going to be there for a decade. Maybe an older coach who can help establish a strong culture.
Nick Saban.
Or you're looking for your Lance Leipold. Yeah, Nick Saban. Nick Saban, come to Stanford. I think Jay Norvell at Nevada is an interesting candidate. He's a little bit younger. He's been a winner at Nevada. He's at Colorado State right now, actually. He has taken both programs to bowl games. He went, I believe, 8-5 with Colorado State this past year. West Coast guy. I think that's one to keep an eye on, but I'm not sure he would leave for Stanford. Stanford obviously has high academic standards, which make it incredibly hard to recruit. I think that Gary Patterson is a name to watch. He's 65 years old. Similar to that Mac Brown thing, maybe you get 3-4 years, let him come in and establish a strong culture. I would love to see Paul Chryst out there.
Yeah.
I would love to see Paul Chryst out there because he can basically go and recruit big offensive linemen. You saw what he did at Wisconsin. I still don't necessarily agree with his firing at Wisconsin, especially what you see what Luke Fickell has done the last 2 seasons. Paul Chryst won 9 games the year prior and then went 2-3. And, maybe it was time for a change, but Luke Fickell has not done anything better than what Paul Chryst did.
With Andrew Luck's ties to the NFL, is there any chance we get a guy like a Mike McCarthy who's taken the year off to come in? I mean, you see the trend with some of these schools wanting to get NFL guys. I mean, do you see maybe something like that happen? Maybe a Bruce Arians if you want a 2-year guy. I mean, I find it hard to believe that Bruce Arians would go all out to Stanford. But Bruce Arians loves Andrew Luck and would do a lot for him. So
it's not a bad thought, especially the Bruce Arians connection. He coached Andrew Luck. I could 100% see it. Anything's on the table.
Andrew
I just wonder how.
What was his name? Andrew Gase?
Adam Gase.
Adam Gase.
I think people hate Adam Gase, but I think Bruce Arians coached at Temple. Shout out Temple.
Yeah, that's right. Temple Talk.
Temple Talk.
Made it.
Always have to have Temple Talk in here. So I think if they were going to go an NFL route, problem is Stanford is not the most intriguing job. It's on the same level when you think academics as Northwestern and Vanderbilt and a couple of these other private schools that.
But it could be.
Academics are huge, but Stanford has. Stanford's been good. I mean, they almost, if there would have been a playoff, when Andrew Luck was there, they would have made the playoff.
Yeah, David Shaw had a good thing going for the longest time.
Mm-hmm.
Things kind of got off the rail a little bit, and I think Andrew Luck and David Shaw still have a good relationships. I mean, I wouldn't doubt if the phone gets picked up to him. I don't think he comes back. I don't think he's welcome back after some of the choices he was making at the end of his career. I mean, it wasn't bad choices; it was just poor coaching. But I'm like you said, I'm very curious to see what happens. I wouldn't doubt if they dip their toes into the NFL waters and get a guy who's, hey, Mike McCarthy, we don't want to lose all of our recruits. I know you want to take a year off so you can get back in the NFL. Why don't you just come coach here for a year while we do an actual search? You can be the interim guy.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they sign a guy to a 3-year contract and assume that basically he's gone after 2, just to establish a culture. Establish a strong culture. And the one thing I'm curious about is Stanford has absolute millionaires and billionaires in their alumni base. Like probably some of the richest alumni especially when you talk about Silicon Valley and everything that's out there. I have to think that they can figure out NIL at some point.
Yeah. Call Tiger Woods.
I know that revenue sharing is changing but you got to think that there's some rich Stanford people that eventually are going to be like, can we have a football program, please?
Yeah, and Tiger Woods just married into a pretty rich family, or is about to marry into a rich family.
I thought they divorced. I thought that was her, or
that was her maiden name, or that was her last name.
Her married name.
Yeah.
When she was married. Yeah, she was. It's the president's ex-daughter-in-law.
That's right.
There we go.
Donald Trump Jr.'s ex-wife is dating. And in classic fashion, Tiger Woods puts it on social media and says, please respect our privacy. Here's a picture of me and her. Respect our privacy. 15 million impressions within the day on Twitter. I was like, that's not how you get privacy, Tiger. Your choice is with women.
the most famous athlete in the world.
Especially when it comes to white blonde women. He does a really good job of handling those situations from a PR perspective.
Lindsey Vonn, and then his
I forget his
Elin Nordigan, was that her last name? I don't remember.
It was
of course
9-iron through the back window again.
Yeah.
Anyway,
the one interesting. So Andy Thompson's the assistant head coach there right now. He actually spent 2 years as the head coach at Sacramento State. I cannot imagine that they will want him to be the interim head coach because he has been attached to Troy Taylor. He coached under him for 4 years. Troy Taylor brought him in after he left Sacramento State. I just cannot imagine Stanford saying like, "Hey, we'll let your right hand take over after we just fired you."
Well, and I mean, I would find it hard. Yeah, I think they're going to cut bait with everybody. I think that's coming soon. Because Andy Thompson's been with Taylor for a long time, like you said, and honestly, like when you are the second command, and that happens to like you have to start reaching back on older connections because you follow these guys, through a lot of the parts of their careers, and that's how you get the jobs at all these different places. A lot of times, I mean, a lot of it's politics. So when you lose that person who's brought you there, you're kind of on an island. It kind of screws a lot of people. So that's why that like when you make these decisions as people in places of power, it's like, man, you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting other people. So if the allegations are true, I mean, it's terrible for more than, the victims, and it's also terrible for the people who their livelihoods are now in question. So
and now the players' world is turned upside down because all of a sudden you're entering spring ball and you don't have a head coach and you don't know what's going to happen with the program here in the next 60 days, 30 days.
Speaking of spring ball, though, we got some spring.
I have one other name I want to bring out for this because I would love to see this because this follows Kurt Signetti and let's bring out John Gruden. Kurt Signetti and Lance Leipold because both of them started way down. I think Signetti started at D2, but Leipold started at D3. Bob Chesney is the head coach at James Madison. He only been there 1 year, but he has 120-50 record across FBS, FCS, D2, and D3. He has won at every level. And in all of his seasons since 2010, he has one losing season. So if you can win at the Division III level where there are literally no scholarships, I have to think that you can win when you have high academic standards.
He's dealt with obstacles before. So that would be a really good one. That would be fun. And that would be the long-term move, right? Can you
that would be a long-term hire.
And
there should be no reason why you can't pull him from JMU.
Well, in the spring is the only question. Yeah. Can you pull him from it at this point? Because I mean, not even like with the timing of it, with it being so late in the game, to jump over somewhere and learn the players, whatever. You also, a lot of these coaches actually do care about their players, and they know if they leave, like it's going to screw them. So
Bob Chesney makes $766,000.
Yeah, he'll be at Stanford.
He has a 5-year contract making $766,000. So I can only imagine if Stanford could offer him $4 million and he'd be like, bye.
Plus Harrisonburg, Virginia, whichever one it is, versus Palo Alto. Like, where are you going to go?
I mean, Palo Alto isn't, it's not like LA or San Diego, but it's California.
That's where I would rather not be in those big cities. You can still manage yourself in that town and still be on the West Coast. Me personally would rather be at Virginia, just to go ahead and put that out there. But I think the vast majority of people would probably rather live in California than they would.
What about $4 million in Palo Alto or $700,000 in Harrisonburg, Virginia? You're staying in Virginia for less money somehow.
So it's at $4 million.
$4 million's a lot of money.
Let's look at inflation. Let's
look at inflation.
What are the taxes looking like in California? I don't know.
How much are eggs costing me in Virginia versus California?
I have my avocado flag out, Jake. I'm going to California, baby. I've always loved California. Always will. Always have.
Yeah, let's talk about some spring ball. So there's a lot of changes happening. That spring games may or may not be happening, but then we also have Colorado and Syracuse possibly playing in a spring game.
That's what I want to focus on because I think Dabo put it perfectly. If your players are getting poached, it ain't because of a stupid spring game. No,
it has nothing to do with the spring game.
Right. They then turned around and didn't televise their spring game, which I don't understand why you don't do that. Unless the only thing I can think of is like it's a money thing too. I think it comes back to money because, spring games are put on for the fans at cost, at 100% cost for the schools. This year, revenue sharing is happening, meaning that players are getting paid by the schools, not by boosters. Therefore, if the school is having to pay for an entire admission at cost game, they're not going to be able to pay for certain players. I think that's the problem. I don't think it had anything to do with poaching. I think that was what coaches and teams put out there, and that could be me with my tinfoil hat on. But that's what I'm thinking. But you're not getting poached in the spring game. You don't see anything in the spring game. I mean, look what Lane Kiffin was doing with his spring game last year. They were playing it was a field day in elementary school.
Ryan Day put out some comments that their spring game would be altered this year because of health, because they didn't finish the season until the 20th of January rather than
and that's different.
The first.
That's different.
So they already pushed spring ball back and actually condensed the amount of weeks, not amount of practice they're saying, but instead of doing over 5 weeks, they condensed it down to 4 weeks so they could give the guys an extra week to actually go through winter conditioning, because that's 3 weeks of winter conditioning that these guys didn't get, even if assuming you're playing a New Year's bowl game. And part of the other thing is the health of your players, especially if you're on like a national championship contender. For instance, if Ohio State went out there and Caleb Downs got hurt or Jeremiah Smith got hurt in the spring game, the whole fan base would be like, shut it down. We're never doing spring games again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, they would be more pissed than anything. Make it a tryout, make it a prove it game, make it an opportunity for I mean, like, honestly, again, I know I'm very biased. It happens all the time when we talk football, but that was my chance to show what I've done, what I've been working on. Like, that was when I actually got to see the field, was the spring game. So my family could finally watch me play. My friends could finally watch me play. And I got to be on TV, which was really, really cool experience for someone who didn't play very much. So
I get that 100%. And I think there's a portion where the coaches need to also understand that, but also look at your players. Jeremiah Smith doesn't have to play in the spring game.
Yeah, put him in sweatpants and let the backups play. Let the freshmen play. Let the redshirts play. Let the which you don't have walk-ons anymore, but let the guys at the bottom of the depth chart go out there and play.
The one thing, so after Ohio State won I believe it was the 2014 national championship, so they brought back obviously a ton of players of that class. During their spring game, they did some other things during it that were kept it intriguing. So they had JT Barrett and Cardale Jones and maybe one other quarterback do like a throwing competition to see who could throw it the furthest.
Right.
Cardale Jones obviously won that. And then they took a bunch of guys and had them do 40-yard dash races. Interesting things where people are like, yep, I can't wait to see, so-and-so run. And it's like, if you get injured running a 40-yard dash in the middle of a sprint,
you were already hurt anyway. Yeah.
You're not doing it. It's one thing to take a hit or, you make a cut, but if you run a 40-yard dash and you get hurt, and you pull your hamstring, then something was going to happen eventually.
Well, and if you pull your hamstring, you're out, a month?
Yeah.
So you're not out the entire season. So
if you want your studs to do something, there's ways to incorporate them still. Like, all right, hey, Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, you both are going to run the 40-yard dash at halftime.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That way everybody can still be like, yeah, okay, I got to see him do something. They didn't play. But
the cool thing I love, because even when I was at Clemson, Dabo talked about these joint practices and being able to scrimmage and how cool that would be and how beneficial that would be, because you really don't know where you stand until week 1 in college football, because you cannot practice against anybody. You don't know. You have no idea. No matter what you return, you've always lost something and you lose a little bit of your identity to the point where you don't know what school you are or who you are as a football team. Syracuse and Colorado playing. Is it a scrimmage? Are they doing a spring game together, or are they just doing a joint practice?
They're still trying to work it out. From the last I saw, they're going to the NCAA for.
The NCAA is going to screw this up.
They're 100% going to deny it when there's no reason to do it, because there's not a competitive advantage. There's nothing. If anybody else wants to, they can, but I don't think there's a lot of teams that are going to be interested in doing it.
No. But I love how Fran Brown is one of my favorite coaches in all of college football. And like, he just consistently reinforces that. And with his decision to turn it into like a financial literacy weekend,
make it a 2-day event with all your guys where, there's mingling. You can do all sorts of different financial literacy. You can teach them all sorts of other stuff. You can do a joint practice and then, do a joint game. And I mean, for a program like Syracuse, spring games already don't get fully attended by a lot of these programs, especially smaller. Like Syracuse, how many people do you think were really going to go to their spring game?
Right.
Like
they would sell
maybe 10,000.
They would sell out a Colorado Syracuse spring game though.
But if they play a game in Colorado, I'll bet you would see some Colorado or some Syracuse fans go out for it. View it as a chance to go out to Boulder for, a spring game.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll bet you there'd be fans that be willing to do that. Maybe there'd be some fans that be annoyed, but I'll bet you players' families that are interested in going, they'll still try to go. Yeah. Not all of them are living within driving distance of Syracuse anyway. So if they want to go, they're going to have to probably either drive a decent distance or already get on a plane.
Yeah. Well, Syracuse is nationwide, baby. They got fans all over the world.
Yeah. Syracuse, nationwide fan base. We know how big that fan base is. Yeah, I would love to see it go through, and I think there's some really good things that can come from it. But obviously the NCAA is going to come in and block it for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah. Jake, we got official visits going on. It's March. Clemson just had one of the hottest early seasons of March since the Roman Empire murdered their emperor. So I think we should do a little game, Jake. I think we should go through and say, all right, say we're a 5-star for a certain position. What school would you want to attend and play football at that position? And I've done this a couple of times on the patio, drinking a couple crispy boys with the boys, but I figured we bring this up now. We're in the off season. This is a great time to talk about something like this. Where would you want to go if you played a different position, and you were a 5-star guy? So essentially, the reason I say 5 stars, you can go anywhere you want.
You're going to have an offer from any school in the country. So obviously, everyone we're going to go, and we're both going to be Temple Owls because we're going to reinvigorate the program.
That's right. Well, there we go. We finished. That was done.
So
I promise I'm not picking Clemson for all of them. I promise.
Are we picking specialists for each one? Are we gonna be punters or kickers?
I didn't put that on there. Those aren't real people.
Hey, punters are people too.
You'll have to
they have feelings. They have feelings.
They don't on Saturdays.
Let's start. We going to just go in order, or you want to jump around to different positions?
Let's go in order.
Okay.
All right. So, Jake, you're a 5-star quarterback. Where are you going to school? This is your ESPN announcement, baby.
So I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to limit myself to one school. Like, I'm only going to use the school once.
Oh, I like that.
Way, like, I've got to, just because it's more fun that way, or else it would be like,
all right, I'm changing my answers too. I'm doing that too.
Like, for instance, you could justify like Ohio State is like half of these. You could justify Georgia is like half of these. So I'm going to say for quarterback, I'm going to be Texas because Sark clearly knows what he's doing. He helped develop that 2020 Bama team. Ewers, maybe his career was a little bit of disappointment, but he was also injury prone. Got Arch Manning coming in here, and if I'm coming in, I know that if I'm committed now, by the time I get there, Arch is going to be basically on his way out. So I'm going to have a chance to play. And I mean, if I'm Texas, I'm going to have unlimited resources at Texas too.
Right. Yeah. And Texas, playing quarterback in Texas would be perfect. And just to not be chalk with you, I originally, before you came up with that caveat, which I like that caveat a lot, I said wherever Lincoln Riley is. So obviously that put me at USC right now. And if you're not going to play quarterback in Texas, the next best place to be would be in California. Why am I so pro California today?
I don't know.
I'm a big California guy. So
just love California now.
Yeah. So, big time California guy. So I'm going to say USC. I mean, look at the history and the quarterbacks they've put out there. I think it would be phenomenal. I think it would be great to play for Lincoln Riley. I mean, look at his resume with quarterbacks. If I'm a 5-star guy, I'm already penciling in. All right, I'm getting my Heisman Trophy this year, maybe again this year. I'm gonna be a first-round pick this year. Good to go. So I'm going to USC to go play for Lincoln Riley.
I wrote down one for my running back, but I'm actually changing that because I thought about it, and I think I know who I want to go with.
Oh, yeah.
You want to go first for running back, or you want me to?
I can go first running back. So I put Penn State. And that was original.
That's a respectable choice.
And I'm going to keep that. I mean, look at Saquon Barkley, Miles Sanders, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen. I mean, they pump out running backs. I know I might have some big old corn-fed farming boys blocking in front of me. The Midwestern offensive linemen are just unbelievable. So I want those hog mollies in front of me, playing running back, being clean, wearing the all whites and the white out. That would be absolutely phenomenal. So let me play running back in Happy Valley.
I had a different team written down here, but I am going to go with Oregon, actually. Oregon has had a sneaky good run at running back over the last decade or so.
Yeah.
Like James, D'Anthony Thomas, Jordan James was really good last year. I think that you go to Oregon, I mean, they don't usually have too many like hard pounding backs. A lot of times they're, speedy, shifty. But you get a lot of touches. You get a lot of touches in space. And Bucky Irving went to Oregon too. I mean, they've got plenty of guys who have done well and moved on to the NFL. I think Oregon's a sneaky running back pick here.
Go ahead, sorry.
I would say it's not one you think about, but when you start looking at it, be like, Oregon's had some good running backs. And I think, especially when they play their speed, their speed offense. The running back gets a lot of touches. I'm going to score a lot if I go to Oregon.
Yeah. Who's the cat that plays for Denver now in the Broncos? He played it. He was an Oregon running back too. Cannot remember his name. He's not doing really well in the NFL, but phenomenal guy.
Can't even think of it. But I'll bet you I think of it about an hour.
There we go. Yeah. You'll wake up in a fever dream.
Wide receiver, I feel like this is an easy one. And
go ahead, Jake.
It's hard to disagree with Ohio State here. I mean, you just look who they put out in the league every year and who,
right?
Jeremiah Smith, Mecca Ibuka, Carnell Tate is already being looked at. And you want to go in the NFL? Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Michael Thomas was up there too. Terry McLaurin, there's just dudes constantly, and there's more that are coming. And, now Chris Henry Jr. is like the number one wide receiver, and he's committed there next year. Brian Hartline is now the offensive coordinator, so he's going to get his guys the ball.
Yeah, and that was my answer, was wherever Brian Hartline is, which is Ohio State. I'm not going to deviate from that. I'm going to go chalk with you. That's wide receiver you right now. As much as that pains me to say with the competition we used to give Ohio State, which we're about to start giving you some competition again. But
Jeremiah Smith is still a Buckeye. Case you forgot.
No, I haven't forgotten about him, especially with the college football game, the cover being released, he's on it. But anyway, I'm going to Ohio State. I'm going to the O.
Next, tight end. Who do you have as your tight end?
So I had Penn State, but I have to change it now. So you go first while I think about this.
So I said Iowa just because the longevity with Iowa there. Yeah. So when you look at it, right now, Luke Lachey is going to the NFL. Luke Lachey should have been a lot better, had some injuries, and obviously quarterback play was abysmal. But, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Sam Laporta, just recency. They've got George Kittle. They've got some of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. I know if I go play tight end and I start at Iowa, I have a really good shot of making the NFL.
Right.
And now you're just making a shot. Like, I might be one of the best. They've got 4 of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. It means I'm getting paid and I'm getting developed.
That's right. Well, to counter that one, I'm going to Notre Dame. So I'm going to stay in the West. Iowa would be cool. But, man, you got to look at all these guys didn't have the greatest receiving fun there. And I want to catch some balls. So I'm going to go to Notre Dame, and hopefully Marcus Freeman gets me a guy that can throw the ball. And I would love to play for Marcus Freeman in general. That dude is just awesome. So let me play tight end at Notre Dame. I'm joining guys like Michael Meyer. Who was the guy a couple years ago that I was just in love with?
Mitchell Evans is there right now.
Mitchell Evans. I love Mitchell Evans. Michael Meyer was the one I was in love with. I loved watching him play. And then the Tommy Trimble, who's now playing for the Panthers. They've had some really just great dudes. I'm trying to think of the guy who played for the Vikings for the longest time. Luke Eifert. No. Yeah. Eifert. Eifert was great. I'm going to Notre Dame. Give me the history. Give me touchdown Jesus. Give me the Irish.
Speaking of wanting to play for Marcus Freeman, I put him for offensive line just because Notre Dame has had some incredible offensive lines over the last couple of years. I mean, their offensive line this past year was one of the best in the country. But then you talk about how theirs was one of the best, and they lost both of their offensive tackles, and they lost their expected starting left tackle before the season, and they still had one of the best offensive lines in the country.
Right.
Now, they did lose their offensive line coach. I believe he went to the Bears. But, hey, I mean, Notre Dame has had one of the best offensive lines in the country. I think they will continue to. There's been some incredible guys that have come through their program. When you talk about guys like Joe Alt recently, Liam Eichenberg, I believe, is still in the NFL. Ronnie Staley was playing for a while.
He's still good. Yeah, he's still really. He just signed an extension.
So there's tons. Zach Martin just retired, and he was one of the best for a while. When you talk about offensive line, there's nothing wrong with going to Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I originally had Ohio State or Wisconsin, and the more I think about this, I kind of want to switch that too. I mean, Wisconsin would be a great one, but now playing
if Paul Chryst was there.
Paul Chryst was there, that's exactly what I was about to say. So I think I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to go to play offensive line at Iowa. So just like
I thought you were going to say Michigan there.
No. I'm not playing offensive line at Michigan, but that wouldn't be a bad answer. But I'm going to Iowa. They pump out Brandon Scherf, who's the guy who plays for the Buccaneers.
Tristan Wirfs.
Tristan Wirfs. I mean, they've got some freaks that come out of there that play offensive line. You're in the Midwest. That'd be a great place to play. I also thought about. Also, another reason why I think about Wisconsin is during this time of year, there's a lot of Catholics up there, so they do fish fries during this time of year, and they're famous for their fish fries and their beer. Buddy, I love a good fish fry. So if you're telling me I can go to fish fry competitions and eat as much as I want because I'm a big old boy at offensive line, that wouldn't be too shabby. But I think I'm going to go to Iowa.
There you go. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. For defensive line, where would you go?
All right. I told you I wasn't going to be biased, and I'm not.
Until now.
I didn't pick Clemson for everything, but you got to go to Clemson if you're playing defensive line. You've got to. Christian Wilkins, Grady Jarrett, Carlos Watkins, Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant. Kevin Dodd, Corey Crawford. I mean, Clemson just pumps out defensive linemen. No matter what, Shaq Lawson. I mean, Vic Beasley. There's been dudes that have just been coming out there year after year after year. Even before the Dabo run, you have Daquan Bowers, you got Gaines Adams, you've just got Ricky Sapp. Clemson is defensive line U. Argue with the wall. That's where you should go. Dexter Lawrence. Can't believe I almost forgot Sexy Dexy. Dexter freaking Lawrence. Albert Huggins. Come on, guys. This is where you need to go. I'm going to Clemson. Know the place. I'm a 5-star defensive lineman. That's where I'm going to go.
So I'm going to pick Penn State here. Abdul Carter, expected to be one of the top 3, 4, 5 picks in the NFL draft. Chop Robinson just went first round.
Great name, by the way.
Adafe Owe at the Ravens, having a pretty good career. So I'm looking there because I'm not playing interior. I'm sorry. I'm not bulking up.
You're too sexy for that, Jake. You're too sexy for that. Yeah.
I'm playing edge rusher. I'm going to play edge. I'm not trying to bulk up and be a big hog molly in the middle. I want to be an edge rusher.
Right. And all the women in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, that's the place to be.
Yeah. I want to go spend my 3 to 4 years in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania.
That's right. No, but you're right. That's a good place.
So they've pumped out some dudes, especially recently. When you talk about Owe, Chop Robinson, and obviously Abdul Carter.
Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons. I mean, he played linebacker, but definitely an edge rusher in there as well. So, I mean, Penn State is definitely an intriguing option here. There's a couple other I think you could look at. I mean, Honestly, for like half these, we could look at like Alabama. Like if you said Alabama for like any of these,
But
I
who's
thought
not
about
there
Alabama.
anymore? But who's not
I
there
know
anymore?
that's the problem is that Nick Saban's not there, and I'm not really sure what to expect with Kalen DeBoer over the next couple of years. I mean, they still recruit well, but what's the development going to be like?
Right.
And everybody's probably here wondering, where's Georgia? Where's Georgia? Well,
I'm not trying to get arrested.
Chill out. Yeah, I'm waiting a little bit longer before I hit the gas.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. You know, there's a bunch of teams when you look down in the SEC, be like, okay, you know, that's an interesting one. Like, you know, when you look at like South Carolina or Tennessee, you know, problem I have for like Ole Miss is I don't know, honestly know if I see the development because a lot of they're bringing in like 20 transfers a year. You know, when I look at some of those Florida schools, I mean, why would I want to go play for Mike Norvell right now? They won two games last year.
Right.
Billy Napier's on the hot seat. Why do I want to go to a coach that when I look at this, I want to look at coaching security as well.
That's yep. Because Billy Napier would have been a thought for quarterback. Maybe you know, he's a good quarterback coach. I wouldn't trust it right now.
As we've listed these off, they're A, for the most part, winning programs, and B, coaching security. Yep. Now you can say, okay, well, Marcus Freeman's only been there for a couple of years. Yeah, but he's pretty entrenched there. They just went to a national championship. Where else is Notre Dame is going to match his salary no matter what. They're going to offer him as much as he wants to stay because they just took him to a national championship. Penn State, James Franklin's not going. James Franklin could always go somewhere. Every year we talk about where he could go, but he's probably not leaving.
Right.
All these programs, there's coaching security. The SEC, sometimes I'm just not sure if there's A, the development, or B, the coaching security, because it's also a little bit cutthroat down there too.
Yeah, no lie.
So for linebacker, I did take Georgia because Georgia has had a ton of good linebackers come through.
Yes, they have.
N'Kobe Dean was one of the best recently. Michael Williams, I think he was technically an edge rusher, but I might have played.
He played some linebacker.
Roquan Smith. I mean, Georgia has had tons of linebackers come through there, and they're always going to have good linebackers. If I go and I play linebacker at Georgia, A, I'm probably going to be considered for the Buckus Award.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I'm almost certainly getting drafted because I'm probably racking up 60, 70, 80 tackles without question.
Yeah, and y'all heard it here first. Jake likes to have his butt kissed. He just said he wants the Butt Kiss Award.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
Linebacker. So I'm going to go with the curveball here. I had a couple curveballs. I was really going to go the big curveball and go like a group of five school because there's nothing better than a big time white linebacker coming out of Boise State. You know, like some school like that. I also thought about Wisconsin, but I know again to go back to the fish fries, my behind would be out of shape because I would be drinking too much beer and eating too much fish. I'm going to Oregon. I want to play at Oregon. That's just like if you want to be the guy at the school with the coolest uniforms, whatever, that's the place to be. So I'm going to go to Oregon and play linebacker because honestly, like I had to have Oregon on here on one of them. And I thought about it at quarterback. I thought about it at wide receiver. Linebackers where I'm going to put it. And they've had some decent linebackers come out of there. I'm just also protesting Georgia. I don't want to go there and get arrested. And all the other linebacker schools I've taken. So Oregon, I'm coming home. 1,000% committed.
You're just committing for the jerseys.
Phil Knight, baby, I'm coming.
Phil Knight promised you that he'd make you your own shoe.
That's right. And I'll come in there.
It's actually just a croc.
That's right. Hey, that would be dope. The cock. You can't call that.
You caught yourself there.
The croc roll. How about that?
There you go.
There you go. I saved it. Now we're still a G episode.
Defensive back. As much as there's debate, I really do think that LSU is like DBU.
They were.
I know it's fallen off a little bit, but I mean, even as recently as Derek Stingley only a couple of years ago. I mean, that dude just got paid. But you've got Tyrann Mathieu, you've got Patrick Peterson.
Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, I always forget Peterson. But they've had plenty of guys that have come through. And we have Morris Claiborne. Tons of defensive backs that have been, if you're a starter, you're basically getting, first round. If you're a starting cornerback at LSU, when they were in the prime, not as much now, but when they were in their prime, if you were a starting quarterback, you were going basically first round. Like
so you're going there, you want to revitalize DBU. You want to bring it back. That's what
I'm
you're
bringing it
trying
back.
to do.
I'm bringing it back. Also, Death Valley would be awesome to play at night.
Yeah,
I love LSU's jerseys. I do love the fact they wear white when they're home. Like I love the white home jerseys.
Yep.
I also their field. I like the niche look of every 5 yards they've got it painted.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would love to go live in Baton Rouge for a couple years and just absolutely devour some Cajun food.
See, and could you imagine, Jake, being a white cornerback in the SEC would be tough. That'd be tough.
It would be tough.
Get your hips flexible, buddy.
It would be tough, and there would be some. I would definitely be getting chirped every single week, and my cell phone number would for sure be given out, and I would be getting so many phone calls every week, especially if I'm starting and just locking dudes up.
No. If you messed up, now you're a 5-star, Jake. Don't sell yourself short. But if you blew one coverage, you're done, buddy. LSU was a thought of mine. Were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
LSU was a thought of mine, but I'm going to Texas, baby. You got to put one of these positions had to be Texas. Linebacker, I thought about. Playing football in the state of Texas would be phenomenal. I mean, you would be a superstar of superstars. You're in football country. That state eat, breathes, and sleeps football. There's so much history there. It would be amazing to play football for the University of Texas. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to play DB, and I'm just going to I'm going to be in the same boat as you, white guy in the SEC. But you know what, Jake, we're going to change the. I mean, look at Cooper DeJean. We're going to change the stereotype. So I'm going to Texas. I think Sark will be there for a while. On the counterpart with LSU, I don't know how much longer Brian Kelly will be there, but LSU's in such a hotbed for recruits, and they're in the SEC. I don't think they would ever fall off for a long period of time. So, Jake, you do have a good chance of bringing back DBU. So I'm going to Texas.
And with that being said, overall, if you were given your option, where would you go?
If I can't,
even though you went to Clemson,
I can't pick Clemson. I'll say that, and you can't pick Ohio State.
How about that? Can I pick Temple?
You can pick Temple. I think that's a cop out. But if you're a 5-star, you're gonna be like a Travis Hunter situation where you go to Jackson State. You bring a Temple back.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that where you're going? You're going to Temple?
No.
Can we pick one of the other schools?
Sure, you can pick whoever.
Or can we just, or do we have to pick one that we haven't picked yet?
I think you can pick one that this is like saying, hey, you're eliminating the top 8 schools. Where would you go next?
Yeah, that's right. So like overall, if I couldn't go to Clemson and I had to go somewhere where I could play anything, I don't know. Do you have your answer?
Oregon would be very intriguing.
Yeah.
Oregon would be very intriguing. Pacific Northwest, Autzen Stadium. I mean, I think you're playing Big Ten. I think Oregon would be very intriguing. They win. It's not always about, the uniforms, obviously they're cool, but they win no matter who the coach is. I know Dan Lanning, has only been in there, but they just got an extension. They went 13-0. They recruit well. I know I'm going to have talent around me. It's not going to be just me trying to win games. I think Oregon's time is coming at some point. I don't know if it's this year, but it feels like that they're due. And I feel like I'm going to win a national championship if I go to Oregon.
I like that. I like that pick. And I want to preface this. I'm not allowed to pick Clemson. I would have picked Clemson. I'm not
He's
allowed
picking South Carolina.
I'm going to Penn State, Jake. I'm going to Penn State. I'm a small town guy. Grew up in a small town. Some of these big city schools would eat me up and spit me out. I think it would be really cool to be in a place like Happy Valley and, small town, and people know you, and, you know where to go to eat. You're there to play football, and, you got that community feeling. And I don't know if you'd quite get that in a place like Oregon. Oregon would have been my other pick.
Did Landon force you to say that?
Landon did force me to say it. Shout out to Landon. We had a package deal. We were texting each other. He's like, yo, you know the move. And then he was like tweeting at me like the little lion emoji every time I said, where's home? So I had to go follow my boy Landon because he asked me where's home more than anybody else. I chased the bag. I wasn't a take at Clemson, so I had to go to Penn State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question here. So I was talking about these. Where would North Carolina rank in all this? Because you got Bill Belichick there.
Me personally would not want to play for him. And the only reason so if I'm a 5-star, I'm going to the NFL, right? I mean, it's almost guaranteed you're going to be drafted. I think there's been one player that's been a 5-star who's not been drafted. I think there's another one that's about to happen. I'm not going to say his name out loud, but I'll text it to you another time. But I think there's been one player who played at Georgia who was not drafted. Still made it.
Occasionally, there's just some bust that injuries happen. I would say if you play your full 3 or 4 years, actually play, you should make the NFL just on talent alone.
Right.
But if an injury or something like that happen,
I would have no interest in for multiple reasons. Number one, UNC is a basketball school. I'm not going to be we're not first fiddle. Number two, Bill Belichick has been very blunt with what his purpose there is to be an NFL factory. And I don't know if that would appease me. I want to go somewhere where there's culture, where you're trying to win national championships, which of course that's what he wants to do. But he's saying the winning will follow. I know how to coach in the NFL. I feel like you'll lose a lot of the community and a lot of things you need as a young kid if you go and play for him. So me personally, I wouldn't be interested in that. Now, I sure as hell would take an official visit because it'd be really cool to meet Bill Belichick and have him wine and dine you, But no, I don't think I would be interested. What about you?
Yeah, I think I would entertain it. I mean, Bill Belichick is
you have to entertain it.
I have to entertain it, and I think I'd be curious about hearing the pitch.
Yeah,
of what it's like, and what they're looking at, and he's been clear in.
You can see my really hot girlfriend, and I've coached in the NFL. You can meet Thomas Brady.
If you email him, you have to copy his girlfriend.
You have to copy. I forget her name, Jennifer, or whatever it is, with the I and a Y.
I would be very curious about hearing the pitch because what you hear in the media, how is that different than what he's going to pitch you at North Carolina? Obviously the goal is to make the NFL, but I want to win while I'm in college. That'd be the whole goal. Kind of on the flip side of Belichick, would you entertain Colorado?
Man, that's a good question. I don't think so because, and the reason I say it is look at what they've done lately. I mean, you have 2 first-round guys.
They almost won the Big 12 last year. They were like 1 game away from making the Big 12 championship.
Right, and they still didn't get there with 2 first-round players. So I think that would.
You say, what have you done for me lately? I am not a Deion Sanders apologist, but the man did inherit a 1-win team.
No, and you're right. I'm not a Deion hater. I'm just saying, you have Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, who are both first-round guys, and you couldn't even win the Big 12.
I agree. I agree with that. I think if I'm looking at that, though, I'm looking and seeing okay, hey, he's building. Also, the interesting thing about this is with Travis Hunter and Shedeur being gone, and Shiloh, I believe, is also gone. Probably is gone. Shiloh was going to find another year just because he wasn't loved enough, so he probably has to go back to school. But anyway, you're not going to have his quote-unquote kids anymore. Travis Hunter wasn't his son, but he treated him like it was his son. And you're not going to have them around. So what does the culture around that look like? Because, Deion was very blunt with his son, Shedeur. He didn't start him in the Celebration Bowl because he was late for a meeting, or I think that was the story. So I think Deion is actually a pretty good coach. It depends on what position. I wouldn't want to play offensive line at Colorado. I'll be completely honest. I don't want to play offensive line because I don't want to be the anchor of the offensive line the whole time. I don't want to be having to take on 2 guys every time because they're rushing extra because they know they're going to get through, because the guy next to me I can't rely on at offensive line.
I'm not going to say it.
I'm not going to play quarterback because I don't want to spend all the time on my back. If I play defense, I think I'd feel different about if I play defense at Colorado because I'm not basically on my own. They at least have some defensive talent.
Yeah.
wide receiver, I'd be concerned about getting the ball. But I mean, Jimmy Horn and Travis Hunter got the ball plenty.
And I would worry too, like, all right, Shador's gone. Where's Deion going to be? And I know he's just hired Warren Sapp and he's hired a couple of NFL guys, like, but he doesn't even he doesn't recruit. Deion doesn't even go on into recruiting stuff. Like, I think that would throw me off.
Yeah, I think there'd be a concern about, is he going to jump for the NFL if the job ever comes open where Shadur is at?
Yeah, or go to Florida State.
Yeah, or go to Florida State after Mike Norvell gets fired. So I agree. Part of the coaching security there would be interesting.
But you would entertain it. You got to know they would. Yeah.
I would entertain it for sure. I would listen. I would listen to a pitch. Are there any other schools out there that you would entertain if they called as well?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Well, in my with my actual experience, I would have entertained any phone call. But like, I would love. I mean, Notre Dame. You have to pick up the phone for Notre Dame, no matter who's coaching them. I mean, it's just such a historic program. Ohio State, Clemson, obviously, Texas. Texas picks up the phone. You have to pick it up. Oregon, they call you. You got to answer it. But outside of that, I mean, if Nick Saban was still at Alabama, you have
I'll tell you which one you would pick up. You'd pick up Oklahoma.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Brent Venables, absolutely.
Exactly. You love Brent Venables, so you'd pick up that phone call.
Oh, I should have made that for my linebacker. Damn it. Good. Yeah, no, I'm picking
up. Are there any that any Power 4 programs, outside like the obvious, like, you're going to really entertain Vanderbilt, you're really going to entertain, Rutgers,
yeah,
some mid to high tier programs that you don't think you would entertain?
Honestly, like I don't think, me personally, I just don't like Steve Sarkisian, so I don't think I would want to play there. If Jimbo Fisher is coaching anywhere, I don't want to go there. So I don't think.
We missed a running back, or would have been so much fun at West Virginia with Rich Rod.
That's true. Bobby Petrino, I don't want to go anywhere near him, so keep me away from Arkansas.
I don't think I would go to Arkansas for Sam Pittman either.
No. Sam Pittman seems like a really cool guy, though.
If there's a coach that, like, are you going to be fired next year?
Yeah.
I probably am not going to look. Like, Florida State is a historic program. But Mike Norvell just won 2 games, and everybody's calling for his head.
Yeah. I wouldn't pick up I don't think I would pick up the phone for I think there's just, I don't know. There's not many guys. Bobby Petrino, Jimbo Fisher, I'm not answering that phone call. No shot.
I also think, like, Louisville, I probably would entertain. Louisville's like they're obviously an ACC team, but it just feels like, I don't want to say they don't belong, but it's almost like sometimes I just view Louisville as a program that still belongs at a group of 5 level, who just happened to be good enough for long enough to get to the Power 4.
Jake, Louisville is elite. They're the top of the line. They're elite, and they can beat anybody at any time. Even the best of the best programs, they can beat anybody at any time. So I can't say anything bad about Louisville. I'm answering the phone for any school in Texas. I'm answering the phone for Mike Gundy every single time. I'm just trying to work through some of these schools.
Like, I think I would skip Kentucky.
I wouldn't go to Kentucky. If Tony Elliott called, I'm answering that phone. I love Tony Elliott. I know he's having a rough time.
Go to Maryland? Would you consider Maryland at all?
So, funny story. My grandpa and my grandma both went to Maryland, and my grandpa was like, I want you to go to Maryland. I want you to go to Maryland. I want you to go to Maryland. Had they called me, I might have gone to Maryland.
Who would have been the coach that time? Randy Edsel? Or was it the dude after with the whole scandal?
No, it wasn't that. It might have been Edsel. Maryland football coach. 2013 was who?
Randy Edsel.
Randy Edsel. Yeah, it'd been Randy Edsel. Yeah, which would have been awful timing.
You could have experienced a couple 7-6 seasons.
I also would have experienced the ACC and the Big Ten.
Whoa. you would have been out before DJ Durkin, though. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank God. I wouldn't. Never mind. It's too soon.
Yeah.
Iowa State.
Do you want to go through? You want to go through bucket list stadiums real quick?
Let's go through bucket list stadiums real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll wrap it up.
So,
where have you been? Preface.
I've been to apparently way more than I thought I had. I've been to Ohio State, Maryland, Temple, Penn State, Iowa, Purdue, Pitt, Kent State, Ohio University, Akron, Nebraska.
I'm so jealous of your list.
And I feel like I'm still missing. I've stopped at stadiums I've stopped in at stadiums before, but haven't seen a game. Like I've stopped at Missouri. I've stopped at Illinois. I've stopped at Northern Illinois. I don't know why I stopped there, but I did once.
I was on a recruiting camp for North Carolina State. So I was there on the field and doing workouts. Does that count?
Mm-hmm. Like I stopped and was at the outside of Louisville once. I didn't actually make it inside, but I was on the outside of the stadium.
You sound like me every Clemson game.
I was just there, but I've seen games at Ohio State, Maryland, Temple, Penn State, Iowa, Purdue, Pitt, Kent State, Ohio University, Akron, and Nebraska.
Yeah, my list is much smaller. I've seen games at Clemson, Georgia, South Carolina, Ohio State, Wofford, Charleston Southern. That might be it. I really haven't been to that many college football stadiums. And then I technically have been in Miami Stadium, but we were playing against Oklahoma and we were playing against Ohio State. Never.
You've been inside the Orange Bowl.
Yeah, I've been inside the Orange Bowl.
You didn't get to experience the fan atmosphere, but you experienced the player atmosphere.
Well, I experienced probably a bigger fan atmosphere than they normally get because there's nobody who ever goes to Miami games.
That is true.
So I got to experience Ohio State's fans in Miami and Oklahoma's fans in Miami.
I'm just thinking of making sure that there was no other ones that I've been to. Oh, I've been to Northwestern technically, but not for a game. But that was the old Northwestern field. Forgot about that one.
Did you go when they played on a half a field?
No, they played at Wrigley for Ohio State last year. They played at Wrigley Field.
That'd have been cool.
There were a lot of people that went, but I didn't feel like going to Chicago in November. It sounded like a miserable trip to me.
Ohio State was on my bucket list, but I've been there now.
You have been there now.
Check that one
out. I've been to UCLA as well, which is the Rose Bowl. Yeah, I've been to UCLA, but it was for a UCLA Fresno State game.
So that's pretty cool.
But it was
it's
the Rose Bowl, but it wasn't the Rose Bowl, if it makes sense. So it didn't. I mean, it was cool. I have a picture that says Rose Bowl in the background, but I wasn't there for the actual Rose Bowl.
I'm very envious. I wish I've been to more stadiums, but I haven't. But I'm gonna pick. Let's pick 5 because if I did my whole bucket list, my whole bucket list is huge. I have got to go to Penn State. I have to go to Penn State. I have to go for a whiteout. I have to go for a whiteout. You can't
just go for a regular game. It's very different than just going for a regular game.
Landon, if you're listening to this, I need to go to Happy Valley for a whiteout game. It needs to happen. Texas. I have got to go to Texas. Doesn't matter what game. I want to go to Red River Shootout game as well.
At the Cotton Bowl?
At the Cotton Bowl. But I need to go to a Texas game in general. And listen, I'm saying need on purpose. These aren't wants. These are needs. These have to happen. Alabama. You have to go to an Alabama game, preferably when they're playing LSU or Auburn. Actually, I think I would rather go to an Alabama LSU game than an Alabama Auburn game. Is that crazy?
I think I would like to see at this point. I think I'd love to see Alabama Tennessee. That
would be cool too. Tennessee is on my list, but not my top 5. Wisconsin. I want to go to Camp Randall. I want to see jump around. It has to. The Big Ten litters this because of the history. Notre Dame.
They're all just so old.
Right. And but there's so much history with them. And then Oregon is on there. I need to go to Oregon.
Yeah, we have a couple that cross over. So as much as I hate it, I need to go to Michigan one day. I got to go to the Big House. But I need to make sure I see a win when I go to the Big House. So I don't know if I want to go this year. I don't know if I want to go this year.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared.
Yeah. LSU, Death Valley. Got to see a night game at Death Valley.
Whoa. Death Valley Junior.
Death Valley. Okay. Death Valley Junior.
Yeah.
Got to go see a night game down there at LSU, and got to be a big game. Got to be a night game. Would love to go for a massive night game down to LSU. Alabama, got to go to Bryant-Denny. I mean, that's again one of the most historic. Obviously it's Alabama. Would love to be there for Nick Saban, Alabama, but here we are. I want to go to the Swamp.
That'd be cool.
I want to go to the Swamp. I want to see the Gator Chomp for everybody, but I probably got to wait till Florida's like good again.
Maybe next couple of years. You're missing a team. You're missing a stadium.
I got Oregon on here as my last one. I got Oregon. I want to go to Autzen. The 60,000.
Yeah, the one that should be the number one team that should be on your list.
Hey, I'll be honest. I have a schedule pulled up because I couldn't remember a weekend of the one that I know you're referencing.
What are you talking about?
Oh, I know. You want me to make sure that Clemson is on my list.
Oh, Clemson's on your list? I'm glad that organically.
It would have been sixth. It would have been sixth.
We're not honorable mention territory. We're going to redo this list in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It needs to be at least fifth. It needs to be first, but at least fifth.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Death Valley Senior would make the list too.
That's right. Walk On Redshirts may be taking over Death Valley in September. All pending on a certain person here that would have to travel down and make that happen. So if that certain person who would have to travel down a lot longer than an hour can make it happen, the Walk On Redshirts are going to be infiltrating Death Valley.
Yeah, because I think we're looking at Syracuse. Yeah, that could be making a trip to Death Valley Senior this year, which could be a lot of fun.
That's right, and it will move up on his top list when I go to a few more stadiums, because I got to catch up to you before we can make a top 10 of the stadiums we've been to. I haven't been to 10 stadiums. We're going to get after it. We're going to make a top 10.
Yeah, I didn't realize I had been to this many, but then again, I forgot I went to UCLA. But then again, it was a very forgettable game when they got whooped by Fresno State.
Was Derek Carr there, or David Carr? One of the Carveros?
No, it would have been 2018. 2018 UCLA.
Allen, what's his first name?
Oh yeah, it's definitely this one. They lost 38-14 to Fresno State. That's how bad it was.
2018 UCLA. So you're the reason that that was part of your recruiting pitch to get Chip Kelly to come to Ohio State.
Oh, it was Chip Kelly's first season. Yeah, I was in his ear saying, in about 6 years, you're going to come to Ohio State and we're going to win a national championship.
You're going to replace the greatest Ohio State offensive coordinator of all time. You know who that is, Jake?
Who?
Bill O'Brien. Never lost a game.
Never lost a game
as Ohio State's offensive coordinator.
Never lost a game. Yeah. Well, that does it for this week. Appreciate everybody joining back in.
It's glad to be back.
It's great to be back. We will definitely be back with more content here throughout the off season. We've got plenty of things that we're going to cover. We have a full list of topics to help get us through this off season, because my God, we still have like 150 days till we can even really start focusing in on college football.
But we're in the hundreds. And also, if you're bored, why don't you go check out the Walk On Moose Recruit Reaction Series? There's about 6 episodes. Jake, is that right? 6
episodes. There's a bunch of nice guests on there too.
Yeah, Landon Tingwall. Shout out Landon Tingwall. Eric McLean from the ACC Network joined me. Max Toscano, who does a really good job at Remember the Tight End. And we've got some good names that have come over and helped. So go check it out. That series is not dead. It is waiting to it takes a back seat to the Walk On Redshirts podcast. Let's just say that. So if we're podcasting, the recruit series ain't happening. But if we ain't podcasting, I'll be back on the mic, baby. We'll be in there watching it. So go check that out.
That does it for this week's episode, and we will be back again soon, and cannot wait to talk more college football.